Hello, biology students. Today we are going to be starting chapter 8, which is all on photosynthesis. So, we are going to start today talking about a molecule that we mentioned just a little bit when I last saw you guys, which is ATP. ATP is the main energy currency of the cell. It is adenosine triphosphate. It is used to briefly store and release energy. You cycle through about your body weight of this stuff in a day, but you are just making and breaking a few bonds. So ATP consists of an adenine, which is a nucleotide, a 5-carbon sugar called ribose, and 3 phosphate groups. So there's an adenine, there's a ribose, and there are 3 phosphate groups. This bond here that we have formed at this oxygen, making and breaking off this phosphate group is what releases and stores energy. When it's like this is the stored form. When this breaks away, it is discharged. So ADP is the same thing as ATP, except it only has 2 phosphate groups. So this is the discharge form. We call it ADP, adenosine diphosphate, di for 2. So here we have ATP, triphosphate. Here we have ADP, adenosine diphosphate. So ADP can be charged like a battery by adding a phosphate group, turning it into ATP. Energy from ATP is released when a phosphate bond is broken. So all of this is centering around making and breaking this one bond. When this bond is formed, we have ATP. It then can release energy, forming ADP. ADP can accept a phosphate. If energy is used to bond that back on, then we get a charged ATP again. So we need to talk a little bit about why do cells use ATP. We talk about how you use food for energy. You don't actually directly use sugars or any other food molecule for energy. It's all going to be broken down to produce ATP. The reason for this is sort of similar to why you don't go to Subway and try to use a $100 bill. It's too big, it's a pain, there's going to be waste, it causes problems. Conveniently, a ATP has about 1/100th of the energy of a single glucose molecule. You might go, well, why would life want to use this if it has less energy? Because this has an amount of energy that is useful to do small little chemical reactions. This is too much energy to be used all at once. But by making and breaking this one bond, a small, useful amount of energy can be transferred to do useful work in a living thing. So ATP, conversely, is not good for storing energy over the long term. It is more efficient for cells to only keep a small amount of ATP on hand. It would be the same if someone was trying to keep their life savings in $1 bills. Probably not a good idea. It's just not a good way to store large amounts of value. It's messy, you got a lot of them, it's hard to keep track of them. So cells can regenerate ATP from ADP as needed. So cells don't keep a lot of ATP around. You probably have less than 2 seconds worth of ATP around. That's not a problem because you are continuously recycling the stuff. So you can get it by breaking down foods. The simplest thing you can break down is glucose, which we will spend most of our time talking about. So we need to talk about a distinction between organism types, and it is between organisms that make their own food and organisms that do not make their own food. By make their own food, I don't mean can you take a bottle of Kraft mac and cheese out and pour the noodles in boiling water, strain it and add the cheese sauce. I mean, if you sit out in the sunlight, do you get energy from the sun or do you not? Which we don't. We're not green. So organisms that make their own food are called autotrophs. That would be plants and algae, things that can do photosynthesis. So plants, algae, some bacteria are able to use light energy from the sun to produce food. They do this chemical reaction of photosynthesis. It is the only chemical reaction that you need to memorize for this class, in which we have carbon dioxide, CO2, plus water, H2O, produces glucose, C6H12O6, and oxygen, O2. So autotrophs are doing this photosynthesis where they're taking this carbon dioxide and this water and they are producing sugars and oxygen. Heterotrophs are a little bit different. Heterotrophs need to eat other organisms to get energy. We need to go and put food through our frontal face hole in order to continue to maintain homeostasis and stay alive. So, we're now going to start talking a little bit about photosynthesis. To explain photosynthesis, we first need to talk about light. So, our eyes are sensitive to light. They see different wavelengths of a visible spectrum as different colors. So, light is not just the stuff that we see, it is electromagnetic radiation. This electromagnetic radiation spans a gamut from gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet, then we reach visible. Infrared has less energy than microwaves, than radar, than our lowest energy of radio waves. All of these forms of electromagnetic radiation all travel at the speed of light. They all are massless. They all are the same stuff. The only thing that is different is their frequency and their wavelength. Essentially, how quickly is that light vibrating? The light that is vibrating very, very quickly is very, very high energy, like gamma rays and X-rays and ultraviolet. The light that is vibrating very, very slowly, like radio waves, radar, microwaves, and infrared, it holds less energy. So, to help understand this, I'm going to go through a webcomic. So, this is a webcomic from a site called The Oatmeal. And it is why the mantis shrimp is his new favorite animal, written and drawn by The Oatmeal. So, our eyes contain millions of light-sensitive cells called rods and cones. Rods let us see light and motion, cones let us see color. If you wake up at night and you can sort of see around your room, but you can't see colors, but you can see the outlines of things just fine, your rod cells are active, your cone cells don't have enough light to be active at that level. So dogs have two types of color receptive cones. So we say dogs are colorblind, or people do. That's partially true. They can see green and blue, they don't have a red cone. So it lets them see green, blue, a little bit of yellow. Humans, we have three types of cones. We have a green cone, a blue cone, and a red cone. Our additional red cone enables us to see not only red, but all the colors that we get from red. Then we are going to get to butterflies. Butterflies have 5 types of color receptive cones: blue, green, red, and then these 2. We don't know what to call them. Excuse me. In addition to seeing what we see, they also have 2 cones for colors outside of our visual spectrum. So they can see colors that our brains don't have a way of processing or understanding because they are seeing in the ultraviolet and the infrared. I don't have a clue what it looks like. But when it comes to color vision, butterflies are almost at the top of the food chain. There's one other animal that has better colored vision, the mantis shrimp. The mantis shrimp lives in warm, shallow water and typically grows to be about 15 to 30 centimeters long, about yay big. And this creature does not have 2 cones, or 3, or 5. It has 16 different color receptive cones. It is distinguishing 16 different individual colors. Our eyes are distinguishing 3. 3 gives us the rainbow. You get a rainbow from 3 color cones. So, like trying to imagine what the mantis shrimp can see with its visual system is a little mind-boggling. So this image is an image of a phone screen zoomed in under a microscope. You'll notice that there are repeating patterns of LEDs. They go blue, green, red. Your phone only can produce 3 colors. It can produce blue, green, and red, basically in roughly this pattern depending on the make and model. It also has a white backlight. Every color that you see your phone make is by mixing these together, and that's all you need because that's all our eyes are sensitive to. So here we have the visible spectrum, Roy G. Biv. Here we have the absorption of our 3 cones. So we have a red cone that has peak absorption around 560 nanometers. We have a green cone with a peak absorption around 530 nanometers. And we have a blue cone with a peak absorption around 420 nanometers. This light blue line, if you can see that hopefully in the video, that is where our rods are most absorbent, but that does not appear to affect our color vision. So these cones are their cells. They have these little sensors out on the end which are receptive to light at their various wavelengths. They're not actually going to be the physical colors that are being shown. The colors have been added to show you the color that it's sensitive to. So if we look at your retina, the back of your eye, you're going to have rod cells. They're tall and rod-like. Then you're going to have cone cells. They are smaller and they're little pointy cone-like. So we can see them in this electron microscope image. We can see the tall rod cells, and hopefully you can see the little smaller pointed cone cells tucked in there. So now we're going to circle back a little bit, back to plants. Because what got us on this tangent of talking about light was photosynthesis, the process where plants use light energy to produce sugars. So plants gather the sun's energy with light-absorbing molecules called pigments. The plant's main pigment is chlorophyll. So this here is a chlorophyll molecule. It happens to be very, very similar to a hemoglobin molecule. The main difference is the iron in a hemoglobin is replaced with a manganese. So life finds a way. So there are 2 slightly different types of chlorophyll, creatively named chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Leaves are green because these chlorophylls are going to be absorbing blue light and red light, and they are reflecting green light. Leaves are green because the green light is reflected, whereas the red light is absorbed by chlorophyll A and B, and the blue light is absorbed by chlorophyll A and B. So the greenness is because plants are not using the green light. So plants also contain red and orange pigments such as carotene that absorb light in other areas of the spectrum. In the fall, when the leaves turn, all of a sudden we can see these carotenoids because the carotenoids absorb only the blues. So in the fall, the chlorophyll breaks down, and then leaves will look yellow, orange, and red because the carotenoids last longer and they're only absorbing the blues and the greens, which lets the leaves look yellow, orange, and red. So most of the time, the green color of chlorophyll overwhelms the other pigments, but as temperatures drop and chlorophyll molecules break down, the red and orange can be seen. So I think I would actually like to stop there for today. So if you've not done your test, I need you to go and take your test. If you took your test and you did not get at least a 20 out of 26, I would like you to go and retake your test. I see no reason why any of you should not have received at least a 20 out of 26. If you did as well as a 24 or 25 and you want to try it again, please do so. So that's going to be all for today. Thank you. Have a good day.